on record and say I love the NES. But put yourself back in 1989. Most of the games you were playing on the NES had pretty good gameplay. So the only thing left on your plate in terms of wonder was the idea of better graphics. Now the only way to see this, of course, back then was in an arcade, which was very plentiful at the time. But as technology improved, corporations like Sega would start to prey on that wonder.
This was the case with the Sega Mega Drive, also known as the Sega Genesis, which most of its advertisements promoted the fact that it was 16-bit. Many gamers, such as myself, would look on with envy. At first, the Sega Genesis system wasn't being bundled with Sonic the Hedgehog because it just wasn't invented yet. That would later come in 1991. So when the Sega Genesis was released in 1989, it would come bundled with a port of a popular Sega branded arcade game known as Altered Beast. I f***ing loved this game. So when I heard it was coming out with the Genesis, I wanted one so bad.
It would take another 2 years worth of saving up my allowance as well as selling games I wasn't playing as much before I'd be able to get one. But man, when I did, I remember sitting up in my room playing for hours. So we're going to take a look back at Altered Beast and we're going to see if this bad boy stood the test of time. Was it really a great game, or was it just a successful leech on the hopes of better graphics?
So the story is you're a Roman centurion, and you're dead. Yeah, short game, right? Well, lucky for you, Zeus has decided to resurrect you to save his daughter Athena, who has been kidnapped by a demigod named Neph. What the hell is a Roman centurion? Well, in a nutshell, it's a Roman officer who commands 83 men. But since you don't have any armor or 83 men to command, you're basically a regular dude. Yeah, you're probably asking yourself, why did Zeus even choose this guy? I guess Zeus took one look at Perseus, Hercules, Minos, Apollo, Ares, and Kronos and said, "F***ing pussies, I need a real man, one that resembles a derelict and isn't afraid to wear pink."
That's right, folks. Zeus has several gods at his disposal that are very efficient at kicking ass and decided He-Man was the better choice. It's like B. Arthur saying she could take Mike Tyson.
Once you get over the fact that Zeus's expertise in decision-making rivals that of Nancy Grace's intelligence, as in preschool equivalent, you may find yourself disappointed with the attacks of your character. I mean, you can punch just fine, but you have this little sissy soccer kick, and if you try to duck while kicking, you just kick straight into the air. You can use this to your advantage with a couple of types of enemies, but for something simple, like a zombie walking toward you, forget it. This silly looking soccer kick has such a short range, and often the enemy will hit you first because your kick simply just doesn't reach. So really the only effective attack is your basic punch. Now you can do this jump kick, but again, it's feminine. I mean, look at this kick. It's totally straight, the toes are pointed, the foot hanging back. Tell me that doesn't remind you of a ballerina. And I'm not trying to be insulting to ballet. I realize it's a very physical activity that takes years to perfect. It's just that when a character is sent to fight a demigod, typically your first thought isn't, gee, I wonder if I can fucking pirouette him to death. Power up. Thankfully, Zeus is merciful on you because as you kill the undead, you'll occasionally release a blue orb. If you catch it, you gain a massive amount of muscle, and once your body becomes ridiculously bigger than your head, the next orb you catch turns you in to the most awesome thing I have ever seen. Hell yeah, man. This is where the game's at. This is what attracted me to Altered Beast. By being transformed into one of 4 beasts, you gain the ability to use super ninja badass moves to take out the opposition. In the first level, you become a werewolf, which gives you the ability to shoot fireballs and do this awesome fire dash move that just mutilates your enemies. What? What does that say? Stella?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing those headstones in the arcade version too, where some of them said Stella and some said Alex. At the time I had no idea what that was referring to. It wasn't until I got older I found it's actually referring to the death of Alex Kidd and his girlfriend Stella. Now Alex Kidd used to be the unofficial mascot for Sega long before Sonic the Hedgehog. He actually got his start on the 8-bit console known as the Master System that came before the Sega Genesis. Sega felt he just wasn't a good enough mascot to take on Mario. So when of course the Sega Genesis came out, Sega decided it was the end of an era and began working on a brand new mascot, which of course later became Sonic the Hedgehog. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I actually have one of Alex Kidd's titles. Why don't we take a look?
So this is Alex Kidd. Despite looking like a monkey, he's actually supposed to be a little boy. a little boy that can take out cars and other enemies with his bare fist, really the main idea seems to be just get coins and go from the left of the screen to the right. The controls, I have to say, bite the big one. It's really hard to explain without playing it for yourself, but they sort of lag. Even when you're running and you let go, the reduced momentum even feels delayed. Because of how odd the controls feel, it makes the game much harder than it should be, and it doesn't help that one hit and you're dead. There are tons of buildings that you can go into, but they seem to all lead to the same spot that involves some kind of gambling game that revolves around paper, rock, scissors. Well, I guess I can win a necklace in this one. What?
Bet my life? Bet my life on a f***ing paper, rock, scissors game? Why would the programmers put this in the game? That's f***ing sick, and you'd have to be a goddamn moron to go along with something like this. You while running backwards on a treadmill!
All I can say is thank God Sega pulled their head out of their asses long enough to create Sonic. Well, let's get back to Altered Beast. So anyway, as I said before, the game really shines once you turn into a beast. You're nearly invincible once this happens. The demigod Neff will occasionally pop out and stop the screen from scrolling. He doesn't do anything, he just stands there watching like some creepy gym teacher staring at his students as they shower. You can run up to the lightning that shoots out of him, but it doesn't hurt you at all. All it does is cause a seizure and push you back. But apparently Neff is checking to see if you have all of your power-ups, because if you don't, the level will go on forever until you do. Of course, if you do have all of your power-ups, you end up fighting the boss for that stage.
Which is just a weird concept to me. Neff is basically checking to make sure that I have a distinct advantage over the enemy. That makes about as much sense as an Al-Qaeda member sharing a beer with the Pope as they're sitting in the lap of Santa while watching reruns of Three's Company. What the hell? So after letting me get all those blue balls, you're just gonna turn around and take them away again? I earned my blue balls!
At the end of each stage, you have a cutscene, or really it's just a still image, but I can't ever tell what's going on in any of these. I mean, what's happening here? Is he choking him? Is he flexing his bicep for him? What is this? In the second stage, you're in a swamp. And, ooh, what is going on there? Well, anyway, it's basically the same stuff, but this time you get to turn into a dragon and just shock the shit out of everybody. Basically makes you invincible. I mean, look how easy this boss is when you can use this dragon. The third stage starts out exactly how I knew it would. A giant wasp walking with purpose, with no wings, carrying a massive erection.
Yeah. What else did you expect?
As for the beast, you get to turn into one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. Which lets you spin around like Blanca from Street Fighter 2. Oh, platypus and a chick smoking weed. Next. Now that looks familiar. This little guy is called Chicken Leg. The lead designer for Altered Beast was also responsible for the creation of a badass game series called Golden Axe, which featured the Chicken Leg as a rideable character. But look how much bigger you are than in Altered Beast. Does that mean all the characters in Golden Axe were midgets? I guess that would make the elf a midgetier midget. Anyway, the fourth stage is my favorite because you'll get to turn into a were-tiger. You can do this vertical ninja move, and you also get these wavy Hadouken-like fireballs. Kind of reminds me of Thundercats. Ah, Chitara, the only thing that has ever made legalizing bestiality seem reasonable. For the final stage, you get to be a werewolf again. Nothing really special or epic leading up to the final boss. Neff turns into a roided up version of Rocksteady from Ninja Turtles. No big special combination of moves you have to do or anything. It's just basically mash buttons until you win. Once you destroy Neff, you discover the blue bird is actually Athena. Apparently you stay a werewolf, and by the suggestion of this picture, I'd say a certain young lady is going to be very sore in the morning.
Well, there you go. That's Altered Beast. Not a bad game, but it's not exactly a great game either. It's sort of a wedge in the center of mediocrity that still somehow manages to be a classic. So did it really stand the test of time? Well, I happen to think...
Power up.